Hello everyone. Welcome back to this videos on software engineering. We were discussing about risk management, and in our previous video, we have seen what is risk and what are the basic categorization of risk, and what is proactive and reactive strategies for risk management. Now, we will see the steps for risk management that are very concise and with very point wise. That is, first is to identify the possible risk. That means what can go wrong in a project or in a technical perspective or a business perspective. You identify all those parts in your complete project plan. Secondly, you analyze each risk to estimate the probability that it will occur and the impact or the damage that it will do if it does occur. That means, suppose there is a server that you actually deploy, and the server is the only thing that can help you manage the complete traffic. Suppose if the server goes down, what will be the impact on the number of users, the work that you do? If it is high, you need to have some sort of contingencies regarding the server, right? So you need to analyze each risk that you have identified in step one with two parameters. One is the probability, and another is called the impact or the damage that it will have when the risk occurs. Then third is you rank the risk by the probability and the impact. You rank it according to the probability and the impact. The impact may be negligible, the impact may be marginal, the impact may be critical, and the impact can be catastrophic. And it is going in increasing from negligible to the catastrophic type of uh, rank. So the rank is the highest for the catastrophic and the lowest for negligible. And then we develop a contingency plan to manage those risks having high probability and high impact. So we will have to find out some ways that we can use to overcome the risks that are actually having a high impact and high probability of risk. Now we will go one by one into something called risk identification, right? This identification is a systematic attempt to specify threats to the project plan. By identifying the known and predictable risk, the project manager takes a step forward, avoiding them and, when possible, controlling them when necessary. So, the generic risks are the risks that are potential threat to every software project plan, like leaving of the employees or something else that are very generic, right? There might be something which is not product specific. That means it changes as per the products, right? So if you own what's the insurance product, the risk, they have certain another type of risk. When you are going to look into a medical or medical specific product, there are certain different type of risk. So these are two different type of categories. Then we need to have some risk item checklist that is created uh, in order to identify that we don't miss out any risk, and we focus on the known and predictable risk, right? So we can organize in several ways. One is we can create a list, and when we have a category and a subcategory, otherly we can have a questionnaire that can lead to an estimate of the impact of risk. We can ask multiple people what they think about what will be the impact, and when we will generalize it as per our knowledge. And we can have anotherly we can have a list that contains the component of the risk and the drivers and the probability of occurrence. So you can have a checklist of the risk items along with the probabilities and the rank that you create, and you create this checklist because you don't want to miss out any single item that is flagged as risk. Now these are some of the categories. I pause it here. You can read it out, and if you find anything which is not explainable, self-explainable, you can comment it out. We will be answering it. Okay. Now what we are focusing here is we should be focusing on the risk components and drivers that we were talking about. The project manager identifies certain risk drivers. So these drivers are those things that drive the risk, okay, that affect the risk completely, like something called performance risk, the cost risk, the support risk, and the schedule risk. Performance risk is the degree of uncertainty that a product will meet its requirements and be fit for its intended use. Suppose if I create a software which should respond in say 2 seconds, and it takes 2 minutes to respond, okay, because of some latency in the network, maybe bug in your software, maybe a technical problem in the data structures that you use. So though this is a performance risk, okay, might be of any scale, but it is a performance risk, and because of this risk, you are not able to meet the intended use of the product, right? Then the second thing is called cost risk, the degree of uncertainty that a project budget will be maintained. So you invest some more amount on certain those tasks which are not necessary. When the necessary task part comes in, you are out of the budget. In that case, you are not able to maintain the cost of the project, or you have to do lot of rework, and the rework cost you pay more to the developers, and when the time comes, you are short of the budget. Then you have something called support risk, the degree of uncertainty that the resultant software will be easy to correct, adapt, and enhance. That means once you are developed with the code and develop the project and release it out, you don't have sufficient man force or manpower that actually can support the new enhancement in that thing, or if the customer comes up with an issue that he's not able to understand, he wants a change in that particular workflow, you not don't have enough human resource to correct it out. Even if you have enough resources, the resources that you work with are not like technically sound to make the changes. So this is a support risk type of problem. The drivers. The last is the schedule risk. The degree of uncertainty that the project schedule will be maintained and the product will be delivered on time. So this is the four cost drivers. Uh, the drivers can be assessed based on impossible, improbable, probable, and frequent type of categories. Now, the next thing is the estimation. The estimation generally actually happens that we estimate the cost of the risk that is associated with the risk. If the risk happens, what is the particular cost? The risk projection is the word that is used for estimation, and it attempts to rate each risk in two ways: probability and the consequence, the impact, right? So we will see how we do it. We generally do it like we don't create a risk table. We not generally people create risk tables. Risk tables provide a project manager a simple technique for risk projection, right? In from one summary risk summary table, we can find out what is the risk, a short description of the risk categories, like one of seven categories that we have seen. We have shown you in the class. Then the probability of the risk for each risk, then the impact, whether they are catastrophic, critical, marginal, or negligible, and if we have a contingency plan, it will mention the contingency plan as well. So this is the complete risk table that actually tells you what all about the risk, number of risks that are there in a project. Now, suppose you have a particular assessment of the risk. You want to create an impact of the risk. Then the three factors affect the consequence that are likely to if a risk does occur. The first is the nature, the scope, and the timing, right? Uh, and based on this, we calculate the overall exposure of the risk, which is known as risk exposure. That means what is the total cost that will be incurred if the risk occurs. So this risk exposure is a product of two parameters, that is the probability, or which is known as the likelihood of the risk, as well as the impact that or the cost that it will occur when the risk happens. So when we multiply these two, we will get a total cost of whatever we need to invest if the this occurs. Okay. Now let us see this example. It says, this example says that 80% probability that 18 out of 16 software component will have to be developed, and the cost of developing 18 components is $25,000. So it says that what is the risk exposure. So it has already given you, it has already given you what you can say, the values. Okay, it has already given you the values, like it has given you the values called 25,000 and 18 components. So what is the cost? 18 components will be developed with 25,000. So you don't need any other thing, you need to have the value. This is the cost, this is the cost, or you can say this is the impact, okay, of developing these things. The total cost and probability is 80%. So when you multiply 80.8 with 25, you will have a $20,000. So you need to relocate $20,000 in as a consequence, as a contingency, along with the rest of the project plan. Suppose you say that we are developing 60 components, that we are we are developing 60 components, and out of the 60, only 70% can be reused, right? Can be reused. So, and then you say that uh, so average line of code, the average lines of code of a module or a component of a component is suppose 100, and the cost dollar per LOC is say 15, right? What is the total risk exposure? So how you calculate? So what you see here is total 60 components were planned, out of which 70% was reusable. That means what is the 70% of 60? That is come to be 42. So 42 components can be reused. That means they are thoroughly tested and they are actually being used, they are going to be reused. So only 18 components are there that are to be developed from scratch. Okay, these are the components that are developed from the scratch. So when you do a development from the scratch, these are the 18 components that entails the risk, right? That have the higher risk. So we will consider 18 components in comparison to 42 components. So we will have 18 components that needs to be taken care of with the risk, and suppose the probability was zero point 0.7, right? So 18 components, each component is of 100 lines of code, and each component will be developed between 15 lines, $15 per line of code. So you will have suppose X amount allocated, right? This is X amount. When you multiply this X with zero point 0.7, you will get, you multiplying this X with 0.7, then you will get the complete risk exposure. Okay, so this is all about the risk management or assessment of the risk. And tomorrow we will be seeing about the risk monitoring and management, right, plan. And with this we will be ending the risk management topic. So we will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.